All right, so it's been a little while since I've talked about real estate, but in today's video, I wanna do my full review of the Ronin 4. Now, I've had the Ronin 4 since April. I actually purchased the Ronin 4 Pro and the Ronin 4 to replace my outgoing Ronin 3s. There was a lot of chatter that these were just marginal, minimal upgrades, and there was no reason to upgrade over the Ronin 3 series. But after having using it for 9 months, I have to disagree with many of those people in those early reviews. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about my perspective as a real estate videographer and photographer. Let's get started. Alrighty, so like I said, I purchased both the Ronin 4 Pro and the RS4, but little did I know I would pretty much just use the Ronin 4 for the vast majority of my shoots. So the Ronin 4, it's super small, it's lightweight, it's very easy to just sort of pack, throw in the back seat of the car and really forget about it. The battery life on this thing is also incredibly efficient and long lasting. I really don't find myself charging this but maybe once a week, if that. If I'm doing a bunch of reels, maybe twice, and that's if I'm just being precautious. But for the most part, the battery life on this is just insane. It's so much better than the previous generation. I felt like with the previous version, I would get maybe like a day, day and a half, but with this, I'm getting like a solid 3 days worth of work out of this gimbal before I need to charge it. And even then, it's only down to like 30%. The other major reason why I ended up upgrading to this gimbal over the predecessor is the fact that you can go from horizontal video to vertical video in just a flip of a switch. It is super easy to do, and it's pretty much one of my favorite features of this gimbal. So I would have clients that would order an Instagram reel, but they really meant that they wanted a horizontal video. And then I started doing a ton of reels, and I had people that would book me for a video, but they really meant that they wanted a vertical video. Now I have one big rule, and it's I do not like to crop video. I like to shoot things natively in the vertical mode so my videos look a certain way. That's probably a lot of the reason why you can see a lot more of the house in my videos, and where a lot of that smoothness comes from is because I'm not cropping in on a wide shot video. So to go ahead and just simply swap this over, it's super easy. Like literally, it's just as simple as if I wanted to slide my camera over to the left like this, lock it back down, unhinge this right here, pop this out, pop it back in, lock it back down, and now I am in the vertical mode just that fast. Like literally, I'm still having a conversation and I was able to swap that around. This was huge because previous to having this gimbal, I was using 2 Ronin 3s, one set up for vertical, one set up for horizontal video, and I had to bring both of them. You can see the problem that would cause if I forgot to bring one or the other. And of course I could just bring 2 with me, but then you have multiple pieces of gear, multiple things to have to charge. With this, I only ever have to worry about one gimbal, which is sweet. Now, there's also some under the hood performance enhancements on this as well, like new ESCs and new motors. The algorithm has also been improved. And at first, when I first started using it, I was like blown away with the smoothness of the video and just how the gimbal performed. Now, spoiler, I never have image stabilization turned on any of my Sony cameras because I cannot trust Sony's internal image stabilization to not goof up or act up or sort of make the corners all warpy. So I turn that off. I rather rely on gyro flow in post if I really need it, or add a little bit of stabilizer within Final Cut Pro. But for the most part, this gimbal is so smooth, I really don't find myself stabilizing too terribly much. Now, of course, there's a way that you should be walking with the gimbal and holding the gimbal that will enhance the overall experience and output that you get from it. But for the most part, the Ronin 4 does the vast majority of heavy lifting. All right, there's also another nice thing for Sony users. If you are a Sony user using like an A1 or an FX3 or something like that, I use the Sony FX3, but this will work with the FX30, I think the A7C and a few others. You can have it to where it sets up the record button directly via Bluetooth, and you can start and stop your recordings directly from the gimbal, which is very handy, very convenient. Also, if you are using Sony power zoom lenses like the 16-35 f4, there is a toggle here on the side where you can toggle the joystick to go from using the joystick to control the gimbal to actually controlling the zoom, which is very handy. Now, I don't use the 16-35 Truth be told, I don't think this lens is wide enough for Instagram Reels and not wide enough for real estate video. In order to get this very dynamic look, I really do prefer the Laowa. This is the Laowa Cine 12mm 0D. There's like zero distortion on this. But this lens weighs 706 grams. So 706 grams, but it also weighs almost as much as this. This is the Sony G Master GM2 24-70 Mark II. This lens weighs, I think, 710 grams. So 706, 710 grams. They're so close in weight for a wide angle lens to a detail lens like a 24-70. I don't really ever have to find myself rebalancing the gimbal, which is really fantastic. Now, when it comes to balancing this gimbal, it's super easy. And I'm just gonna show you just how easy it is to balance this. So right now I have that 12mm 0D lens on here. And typically when I do balance out the gimbal, the first thing I'll do is always balance the forwards to backwards axes. And it doesn't have to be super perfect when you're filming in vertical video. You'll see I'll just tilt this back a little bit, sort of like that, perfect. And honestly, from there, I'm okay with this because this is fine. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not doing like these infinity rolls. And I'll just go ahead and power it on. The next thing I will always do anytime I'm doing anything with the gimbal or I'm swapping lenses is I will typically do a calibration of the gimbal. I'll just press the calibration button and then I hold it down. This is super important if you want to get super smooth video. I see people all the time, they're calibrating their gimbal and they're letting it go. You shouldn't be doing that. It's not going to calculate the proper vibrations. So hold your gimbal down on the table. This is going to make a huge difference in the output that you get from each lens calibration. Now, I do this each time I swap. I know it's a pain in the butt, but I want to have the smooth, I'm super anal, guys. I mean it when I say this. I want to have the smoothest result for my video. All right, so now that that's done, we have it all tuned up. It's ready to go. I'm gonna go over the settings that I use on this gimbal, and I'll actually screen record this. So if you are interested in this, you'll be able to pause the video to see exactly what I use. Now, this will work with heavier setups. Now, this gimbal has a payload capacity of like 6.6 pounds. This load right here is 700 grams, maybe 2 pounds. You're probably about 3.5, almost 4 pounds, maybe a little bit less. It's probably a little bit less than that. But this is a heavier than normal setup. So that's sort of what I've tailored my gimbal for. So you may need to make adjustments to this as well if you're somebody who has a lighter setup. So let's go ahead and screen record this so that way we can jump into that. Yeah, okay. So we're screen recording right now, so we'll go right into the Ronin 4 settings. So first thing first, I'm gonna go to the user profile. Everything is set to custom. So this is my pan follow. I never use pan tilt follow because I don't want my verticals. So when you're looking at your lens, you want your lens to stay parallel with the walls. If you're dipping too far this way or doing this, you will have distorted verticals. So make sure your lens is parallel. So I do not use the pan follow tilt. I just use pan follow, no pan follow tilt. So I'm on the middle profile here. So my pan is set to 12. My tilt is set to 12. And my roll is set to 12. So that's the follow speed, how fast that the gimbal will actually follow you. Then I have my deadband. The pan is set to 7. My tilt is set to 10 and my roll is set to 10. Even though I'm not necessarily using the roll, I still have that set. Now, as far as the joystick, I did go ahead and set the joystick. Deadband set to medium, speed set to 12, smoothness set to high. So that's gonna really control how smooth that release is. So I set that to high because I do find myself as I'm pulling around a corner or something, maybe tilting down to try to give it some dynamic movement. And then while I don't use the first one, which is pan tilt follow, I do use the FPV mode for certain shots. And my FPV mode settings are as follows. Follow speed set to slow, deadband set to medium. I set the push mode set to off and I have it set to the FPV mode. So this is going to allow me to get some of those more dynamic movements. Like when I'm going up, you can sort of see it's slow, but not too slow where you're gonna get a weird sort of robotic movement. The whole idea with the FPV mode is you really want these nice organic movements. Vice versa, if I have it set back to here, you can see the deadband. There is a lot of deadband here, and in real estate, You don't want to have jitters. You don't want to have like sort of that herky-jerky movement because it's going to take the viewer straight out of the video. So these settings I have been using since April, and quite honestly, I'm super happy with them. I have a couple of friends that are using the same settings and their videos are equally as butter and smooth. So I'm gonna go ahead and play a couple of videos that I have filmed with this, like sort of a montage. There will be some vertical video, there will be some horizontal video. There'll be a ton of things that you can take a look at, but let me know what you think of these results.
Do you know what I love about 759 Claudia Lane? The peace, the serenity. Welcome home, y'all.
Welcome to my grandpa's farmhouse.
No, Frank, we're shooting the modern farmhouse today.
What you mean?
Today we're in Tampa Heights.
Well,
Alrighty, so what did you think of those videos? A lot of people don't really understand this new modern style of edit with the speed ramps. It's faster, it's meant more for social media. The whole idea when it comes to real estate video is that it's never going to sell the house theoretically. It's meant to market and sell the agent. I think a lot of real estate videographers really miss the point when it comes to video and what we're meant to be doing. We're supposed to help market our client. I don't care if it sells the house, but what I do care about is if it markets the client to attract the next person that is going to list their home or sell their home. That's the whole purpose of a video. Because I always get comments all the time, the speed ramps are distracting, they don't make sense. And it's always like some older person that doesn't really get these trendier and modern edits. But let me tell you this gimbal itself this year has made me a shit ton of money. And if I showed you the annual revenue of right now for the year, we're sitting just under $300,000 in revenue. The vast majority of that revenue does stem from Instagram Reels, and it really ramped up this year. Ever since January, we've been doing a ton of Instagram Reels. Social media content is the future of real estate, and if you're not jumping on it now and you're thinking about it later, you're going to be too late. Mark my words, I'm telling you right now, we've been absolutely crushing the Reels And I have to say, a lot of the help really does come from having good equipment. Sony cameras, the best low light imagery, in my opinion. They are the best cameras when it comes to real estate, bar none. There's nothing that comes close. And then having a great gimbal like this to really take the time away from having to stabilize things is super important. The other nice thing about this gimbal is it is super versatile and compact, where I can travel with it. So when I do get gigs that do require me to hop on an airplane and go to another state, I don't have to take the battery and stow this in the underside of the aircraft. I can keep all my gear in my bag, and I don't have to worry about, if I arrive on site, did something not make it? So that's another thing that I do really like about this. I can just throw it in my carry-on luggage and not have to stress about that when traveling. But overall, I am super, super happy with this gimbal. I really don't know how much better they can get it. Of course, if I wanted to, I could add on the focus motor to this, but that again would add additional weight. And with an infinity lens and a wide angle lens, like a 12mm lens, I really don't have a lot of need to have a focus motor, even though this lens does have it set up to where I can use a focus motor. I don't think that I will use a focus motor, because for me, this is the perfect lightweight, minimalistic setup in order to do real estate videos. Like I said, if I show up on site to a client and they do not want vertical video and they want horizontal, I can quickly and easily switch it over. This has already saved my ass like 2 to 3 times this year, because clients would book the wrong thing. And then when I would ask them what they want, they told me, oh, I want horizontal, or I want a reel. So that in itself, it's already paid for itself 10 times over. And I'm super stoked. I really don't know how much better they could make this gimbal. And if you're somebody that's been on the fence or haven't upgraded because you weren't sure if the upgrade was good enough, hopefully these videos that I have done, like I have done, I think at this point to this date right now, I have done 330 Instagram reels for clients this year alone. Think about that. That's insane. 330 reels. 330 reels we have edited and done this year alone. That is almost 1 reel a day, which is batshit crazy. And I'm super stoked, and I can't wait to see what 2025 brings. If you're interested, check out my Instagram. It's Apex Imaging Media. Instagram, that's the professional Instagram where you'll see all the work I do for all the clients, and check out some of the clients I work with. Maybe you're looking for some inspiration, go ahead and drop them a follow as well. And if you have any questions, I'll be in the chat for a little while answering any and all of your questions. And as always, stay original and stay profitable.
I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put out they